Tawheed, Halakha 41, page 305, volume 2, English, chapter 8. The date is the 7th of July 2025. Chapter 8, Israel and the Calf. Previously, we mentioned that the children of Israel, or rather some of them, when they departed Egypt, couldn't conceive of the idea of a deity except by way of a Sanam, idol. For that reason, they wanted to make a Sanam to Allah that they could sanctify. There is consequently no truth to what Sheikh Abdullah ibn Baz mentioned, where he said, and from that, the story of the children of Israel with the Samiri.
What's the name he mentioned? Abdulaziz bin Abdullah bin Baz, yeah?
Yeah, Sheikh Ibn
Yeah.
Baz, your one you grew up with.
But I think the full name is mentioned there, yeah.
And from that, the story of the children of Israel with the Samiri, who had fashioned for them a calf made from their jewelry for them to worship it besides God, besides Allah, so that devil would be adorned for them to worship it with the appearance of that untrue thing. Now, this is, for example, as published in a collection of legal responsa and various articles by Ibn Baz. See Majmu al-Fatawa wa Muqalat Munawana, volume 3. That's in the appendix.
That's a reference for that place, yeah. But that's what most people think. They are very simple-minded. They did not go in the depth of the problem really as it should be. Carry on.
That quote was from the fatwa legal responsa by the Sheikh, which was entitled Rule of Islam in the Revival of Reports, and can be found in the official sites. In response, we would submit that it is a brazen lie. It is nonsense, since Allah never said of the children of Israel concerning this matter that it was to worship it besides Allah. Rather, the wording was only about the taking of the calf.
Yeah.
Allah the Exalted, sanctified be His names, explicitly says, "We appointed 14 nights for Moses, and then while he was away, you took to the calf a terrible wrong." And that is Surah Baqarah 51. وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَىٰ 40 لَيْلَةً ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. And furthermore, to this he also states in Surah Baqarah as well, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَىٰ لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ إِنَّكُمْ ظَلَمْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ بِاتِّخَاذِكُمُ الْعِجْلَ فَتُوبُوا إِلَىٰ بَارِئِكُمْ فَاقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ ذَٰلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لكم عند بارئكم فتاب عليكم إنه هو التواب الرحيم. And that's 254, and the translation is, Moses said to his people, "My people, you have wronged yourselves by taking the calf, so repent to your maker and kill the guilty among you. That is the best you can do in the eyes of your maker. He accepted your repentance. He is ever relenting and the most merciful." And again in Surah Baqarah, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَكُم مُوسَىٰ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. And that is Baqarah 92. Moses brought you clear signs, but then while he was away, you chose to take the calf. You did wrong. And again in Al-Baqarah 93, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاذْكُرُوا وَاسْمَعُوا قالوا سمعنا وأسينا واشربوا في قلوبهم العجل بكفرهم قل بئس ما يأمركم به إيمانكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. And that is, remember when we, so that's 293. Remember when we took your pledge, making the mountain tower above you, and said, "Hold on firmly to what we have given you and listen to what we say." They said, "We hear and we obey." And through their disbelief, they were
disobey. We hear, disobey.
Sorry, سمعنا وأسينا, yeah. We hear and we disobey. And through their disbelief, they were made to drink the love of the calf deep into their hearts. There are two further.
Or the love of the calf penetrated in their ushrib, like if you say, when the rain falls and you say the soil is ushrib al-matar, is full wet through the rain. So ushrib means full penetrated, not as a drinking. But for humans, sharab is drinking, yeah. Good. So it's again nothing about that a calf being another deity, or it's just only اتخذتم العجل. They took the calf, they made the calf, they adopted the calf. For what is clarified also in the Quran in another ayah and a Makki ayah. Most of these are Madani. The Makki ayah already clarified that.
Okay, so the next ayah is, so there are two further verses of striking import as set out below, where Allah the Exalted expressly states, and this is from Nisa, I think 4153. The people of the book demand that you make a book physically come down to them from heaven, but they demanded even more than that of Moses when they said, "Show us God face to face," and were struck by the thunderbolt for their presumption. Even after clear revelations had come down to them, they took the calf as an object of worship. Yet we pardoned this and gave Moses clear authority.
What I read the Arabic, yeah.
Okay, so I have to increase. It's very hard to read because of the font. Okay. يسألونك أهل الكتاب أن تنزل عليكم كتابا من عليهم كتابا من السماء فقد سألوا موسى أكبر من ذلك فقالوا قال أرنا الله جهرة فأخذتهم الصاعقة بظلمهم ثم اتخذوا الإجل من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات.
So the translation is wrong. واتخذتم العجل only. And they took the عجل. That's what they took the calf. Not to worship Allah, nothing. The translator is adding from his own imagination. That's the problem with translation. You have to restrain yourself and try to stick to the text as much as you can.
You can unmute, bruv. Sorry. There's a bruv. You can unmute if you want.
Assalamu alaikum, Professor. So just a quick note, because I read also the Arabic part of Attakhadhu, and if you meant that Attakhadhu is not followed by Aliha, then
no. Just اتخذتم العجل. The translation is wrong. I'm not discussing anything further. It will come.
No. I'm discussing the point of your response to Ibn Baz, because
we've continued. We did not finish. Let's finish, and then the response will be complete.
Okay.
I'm not responding in just one sentence. The whole thing is a response. It has to be complete. Yeah.
Okay. No, because I read it in time past, but we'll complete, inshallah. No problem.
Yeah, we'll complete. Yeah.
Okay.
But this translation in English to the ayah is wrong. Read again the translation as it's front view.
Okay. Yes.
No, the translation, not the Arabic.
Okay, the people of the book demand that you make a book physically come down to them from heaven, but they demanded even more than that of Moses when they said, "Show us God face to face," and were struck by the thunderbolt for their presumption. Even after revelation had come down to them, they took the calf, and it says, as an object of worship.
Yeah, they took the calf as an object of worship. No, that doesn't say the ayah. They took the calf, period. That's what the ayah says.
Yet we pardoned this and gave Moses clear authority. So what would the taking of the calf, what would be a suitable adjective or verb associated with it then?
Would be as a Sanam of Allah.
Okay.
As an idol of Allah, not as an object.
So taking, and then the context would determine what the relationship is.
Yeah, it's always Attakhadhum, and then one place in the Quran clarify what really, why they took the calf. What is it? What's the nature? That's in Surah Taha.
But Professor, Ibn Baz could have mistaken due to the fact that اتخذوا, the word اتخذوا, also is used multiple times in Quran as ibadah. So for example, the famous ayah that we discussed, والذين اتخذوا من دونه آلهة ما نعبدهم.
I
know it's followed by Aliha, but the mere
اتخذوا is followed with nothing. That's my point. You stick to the text of the Quran. Otherwise, you'll go astray. The devil will play with your mind and get you. That is not severe, but it's severe enough. It's misunderstanding what's going on.
Yeah.
And it contradicts what's in Surah Taha. It will come later.
So because it's not followed by Aliha or Ibadah.
No, it's just Attakhadhu.
Yes. Okay.
Implicitly, without mentioning Attakhadhu Sanam lillah, but it is not doesn't express like that. But in another place, it expresses in the tongue of the family.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
When the family fashioned the idol calf, we passed that actually in Surah Taha. You remember in Tafsir. When he fashioned, say, قال هذا إلهكم وإله موسى. That's Allah which Musa is worshipping.
Yeah.
Is here. Musa is going to the mountain searching for Ilah. No need. There's a seer in front of you.
Yeah. So he's putting mouth in on the tongue of Musa.
No. What family is telling them, this is an idol for this is sufficient an idol for your God and the God of Musa. Musa did not need to go to the mountain and waste his time. It's here. In my point, is the Sanam of Allah. So meaning he made it offer to them No need to go to the mountain to meet Allah somewhere or something. It doesn't take any sense. The sense is in front of you, shaped as a golden calf or the calf. That's it. It's an idol of Allah. Not an idol of another deity, not for Isis or Osiris or Shiva or something. No, it's idol of that Allah, which Musa say he is being sent by him.
Okay. Otherwise, اتخذوا العجل does not clarify if it's for worship, for enslavement, or for whatever. Doesn't clarify.
Whatever اتخذوه is clarified in another place of the Quran
In another place.
Okay.
Okay.
And the meaning of it.
Yes.
It says اتخذوا آلهة, so they اتخذوا آلهة, etc. And also clarified when they crossed the sea and the personal people having idols, they said to Musa, اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. Meaning, what does this mean? Find another God? No. Make us a Sanam like they have us now. For them, Sanam and Ilah is essentially identical in their primitive mindset. So what they said, we believe in Allah. He's the only one God. Is our God. That's fine. But we need an idol for it. We need something we can look at and touch and kiss and adore and hang flowers on the neck and things like what the Mushrikeen do the Sanam.
Okay.
اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة.
Okay.
Notice what they say. اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. But they have ilah already, the ilah of Musa, meaning make us a sanam. That's meaning because with them sanam and ilah are essentially in their primitive mindset almost identical. Good. And that's exactly what later on, few days or few months later, the Samari did fashion them from except not the jewelry, something else, but the secondary point I will mention later, inshallah. Remind me.
Okay, next ayah. I've got it. I'm magnifying it on my phone so I can read it easier.
When they say the Samari fashion from Awzar, from loads of the Zinah of the people, I will mention what they mean. It's not a jewelry they took from Egypt and something else. Okay, carry on.
The next ayah. This is إن الذين اتخذوا العجل سينالهم غضبا من ربهم وذلة في الحياة الدنيا وكذلك نجزي المفترين.
مفترين.
Okay.
Wrong. المفترين.
Yeah.
Notice what it says: those who adopted or took a calf for what? It doesn't say. They will be punished by they will receive the wrath of Allah Ta'ala and they will be degraded in Hayat al-Dunya. And this is the reward or the punishment for the muftareen, the fabricator. Because of adopting the ajl, they're fabricating that Allah is having an idol. So the fabrication, not the mushrikeen, but the muftareen, because it's iftira.
I'll read the translation. I'll read the translation. Those who took to the calf will be afflicted by the Lord's wrath and by disgrace in this life. This is the way we repay those who invent such falsehoods. And that's 7:152.
Fabricate lies or invent such falsehood. Yeah.
Thus one should understand that they never worship the calf besides Allah, as expressed by Sheikh Abdullah Aziz Ibn Baz. Should there be any wonder at this level of knowledge and lack of diligence in reading the actual text of the Quran when the man originates from the sect of Wahhabism? He could not escape the clutches of that, since members of this sect recite the Quran, but it does not go beyond their throats. And if any one of you compares his prayer with their prayer, he will consider his prayer inferior to theirs.
That's just a rant, as usual. We put rants like that scattered through the book.
And similarly, his fasting inferior to theirs. They pass through the deen as clean as the arrow passes through their prey. Moreover, they worship to be seen of and impress people, conceited, full of self-admiration.
That's the description of Khawarij. The meaning they are Khawarij.
Which is inevitable given their rejection of diligence, thought, and self-criticism. Self-praise and conceit is their mannerism, such that they kill the people of Islam while leaving the people of idols. Without doubt, they call to the book of Allah, although they have nothing to do with it. Is it any wonder for that reason that the blessed messengers, may there be peace and blessings be upon him, reporting from Allah, said of them, so whenever you find them, kill them, for there will be a reward for their killers on the day of resurrection. And that's obviously when they manifest and they
Well,
raise the sword.
clearly, because the hadith in which he said that is saying about the people who follow the same way of Dhul Khuwaisara. But Dhul Khuwaisara is in front of him. He did not touch him. So when they come out or you meet them, when they put the sword, that's it. Because nobody will kill me just because he has a false creed or a heresy. No, it will be killed only if he puts the sword or commit a certain specified crimes, like for example, before the stoning was abrogated, like an adultery and things like that, or killing someone else, and then there's just reward for killing to be killed, unless the people who have the right of forgive or ask for blood money, and as they said in the details of the law. So killing someone is always for someone who is pulling the sword, so for fighting him off in self-defense, and for specific crimes which have the death penalty as its punishment. That's it. No more. Has nothing to do with beliefs, creeds. You like him, you don't like him. His nose is twisted, his nose is left, right. All that's irrelevant. There's not a reason for killing whatsoever. Only in the mind of mentally deranged people. But it's just like a diversion, just a side rant. Carry on.
Sheikh Abdullah Aziz Ibn Baz was one such type person from the sect of Wahhabism, the same individual who committed rational suicide by brazenly going on record to assert that the earth doesn't rotate around the sun, that the celestial bodies are fixed, and other such ludicrous ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So the depiction in the hadith of their state is quite apt, that they call to the book of Allah yet have nothing to do with it. So what does when it says nothing to do with it, what does that mean? Is it what's in the Arabic?
They have nothing because they didn't understand, so they have nothing to do with it. That's one.
We seek refuge in Allah from
have no relation, pre-relation, because to have a relation to the book of Allah, you have to digest it, understand properly, then you start the relation. And then based on that, you come to the conclusions and the belief and the action related to that. Then you have a relation. Otherwise, just claiming, I'm referring to the book of Allah. Okay, show me your reference, and then you make such blatant things. I use this occasion as just to
poke the bear.
Have a rant, but everywhere an opportunity of rant comes, I do a rant. Yeah.
Why not? We seek refuge in Allah from this humiliation and humbly beseech Him to grant us the best of this world and that to follow it. The reality of the calf. Given all of this, what then is the reality of Ijl, the calf, or to be more precise, with more accurate wording, the timthal, statue or sanam, idol of the surah, image of the calf? The answer is provided direct from above the seven heavens, for He, the Exalted, has said, فَخْرَجَ لَهُمْ إِجْلًا جَسَدَ لَهُ خوار
the sound of the cow.
فقالوا هذا إلهكم وإله موسى فنسي to produce an image of a calf which made a lowing sound, and they said, "This is your God," and Moses' God, but he has forgotten. And that's 20.
Forgotten that the God is here, and he's going to the mountain searching for his God. He's mistaken. It's here in front of you. You see it. So that's the calf. The calf is an idol. It's a timthal fashioned perfectly. Somehow that the wind can go through it and make a sound, something like that, which is easy. Not easy to make, but it needs a good handicraft. And the Samari, most likely from Sumeria, from Iraq, not the later city of Samaria, like some idiotic Orientalists think that it is. This guy, obviously skilled in making idols and so on, was with them in the Exodus. He was maybe in Egypt doing business or living with Bani Israel or whatever it is. Because Egypt is not only the Egyptian, there are Israelite living, and there are many business people coming from all over the world. Egypt was the major power, the superpower of the earth at that time. And the interaction and business relation with Akkadians, which is an empire also, with the Hittites in Anatolia, which was a world empire. At that time, it was a peak of time of tin trade to be smelted with copper to make bronze. It was the peak, the beauty of the Bronze Age. Now it's maybe a good comment about the ayah will say, we have been loaded with heavy weight of the Zinah of the people. And that somebody took this Zinah, melted it, and made that. And people understood Zinah, again, mistake, as huli, as ornamentation, jewelry. It's not. Zinah is dresses. So which dresses is made of metal and so on? Obviously, military shields made out of bronze and so on. Yeah. And how come how come that they have shields and so on? Actually, the Old Testament mentioned that when the army of Pharaoh drowned, some of the, obviously during the drowning, some of their clothing or some of the shields they have around their body on the head cover and so on floated away, and the current took it and dumped it several kilometers down on the Arabian side. And they found that and they took it, said it may be useful one day. And they used some of it in various occasions, sometimes as to make weapons of war to defend themselves, and sometimes a bit of it, maybe the most beautiful bit, which looked like gold, because it's mostly copper mixed with tin. That's bronze. Bronze looks like gold almost. The appearance and the shine of it is like gold. That's the reason that people who sell gold in half. It's not gold. It's actually bronze most likely. Rarely would be some gold there. And he fashioned a cup from that one. But this is a side note about history.
Yes, although Professor, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explicitly said, فَأَخْرَجَ لَهُم مِّنْ حُلِيِّهِمْ عِجْلًا جَسَدًا, from their jewelry. So it's not like shield or something.
Where is that? No.
No, in the Quran, فَأَخْرَجَ لَهُم مِّنْ حُلِيِّهِم عِجْلًا جَسَدًا.
No. Where is that? Read the ayah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But the ayah where there is that, وَحُمِّلْنَا أَوْزَارًا مِّن زِينَةِ الْقَوْمِ.
Okay, I'll just try to pull the ayah real quick.
Search for the word حليهم.
Yes.
You remember that maybe you've seen some tafsir saying that and things like that. I don't think it's an ayah. It's just interfere in the mind.
Yes, indeed. فأخرج لهم عجلا جسدا له خوار. Yeah.
And they said, when they argue with Musa, say, حملنا أوزارا من زينة القوم. فقذفناها, we gave some of it or all of it to the Samiri, and he did the smelting and did the fashioning and so on.
Okay, astaghfirullah, Professor. I'm sorry, but there's an ayah indeed in Surah Al-A'raf. قال تعالى آية 148 واتخذ قوم موسى من بعده من حليهم عجلا جسدا له خوار.
Yeah, so this is maybe a part of these is not only shield, it may be used as ornamentation. Yeah, it could be ornamentation, like things around the neck, like
jewelry, stuff like that.
If you see pictures of pharaohs and so on, they have things around the upper arm, which look like a big ring. Obviously, most likely that's not very much of protection. So it's not like a protection. It's not a part of dress for war. It's rather just for beautification. And some of this may be really made out of, if in the case of Pharaoh, would be made of gold. For the rest of the army, what it will be, probably, yeah. It will be
because in the army they take their fashion, like in today's even in today's they wear their ranks, they wear their medals.
This will be huli. This will be most likely
the medals and stuff.
It's not Zinah. It is more huli. But Zinah sometimes extended to include some huli. But generally Zinah means dress, including dress of war.
Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Does the hadith of that and what adds any context to this as well? Because
we'll have a chapter for that. We'll come to it. Don't worry. We'll get to that. This section about the Sharq al-Arab is so full of things, almost missing nothing. Although we can add a little bit more from other sources and archaeology. And I think the guys did add a bit from their side also. They discussed with me about in the English translation. It will come. That anot will come.
Jazakallah khair.
Anot seems to be an idol, not an idol, a watan, because it's not in a human shape, because it's a natural thing, and a watan for al-Uzza, most likely. Yeah, but this will come to that.
The underlying understanding of their belief concerning the calf, or to be more precise, the timthal, statue, figurine, or sanam, idol of the surah, image of that calf, it is a summon of Allah the Exalted, their God and the God of Moses, peace be upon him. It is not an additional God or that which is worshipped also besides Allah, according to what they believed. There wasn't any need for Moses, peace be upon him, to ascend to the mountain summit.
According to the point of view, but his God is here. You don't need to go to the mountain to meet him. You can meet him face to face. Just stand in front of the calf.
Ascend to the mountain, summit at the behest of his Lord. Rather, in their minds, this is a matter that Moses, in fact, had forgotten out of ignorance or by mistake. As he had led them to the mountains, it was his right to be there with them, being a participant in what they were partaking in. To the closest meaning, it is essential to understand the root cause of those undertaking the acts in this situation and what the position of Moses salam, was upon his return. There isn't a need for a remote or far-fetched interpretations or making the entire incident totally as a result of the summary and forgetting Tawheed, as is often mentioned in the majority of works from the exegetes. Mufassirin. There is a further discussion, detailed clarification concerning these matters in our study of the issue of Dhat and Wat, which is the next chapter. Moreover, there is also a detailed chapter concerning the Sanam, idol, and its station of being worshipped in relation to a god by way of a figurative statue or statuette, that being used as a representation or conduit of a god, deity. This and more is covered in the present work outlining the basis of Islam and the essence of monotheism. Consequently, with an insightful reading of the Book of Allah and a keenness to seek out the ultimate truth behind what is the actual reality of idols, the problem of understanding becomes that much clearer. The problem of also understanding the noble and majestic words as expressed in the book becomes clearly resolved, for he, blessed and sanctified be his names, has explained.
Yeah, carry on.
Sure. I'm going to, because read it, I need to increase, I need to put it on my phone. I can read it properly.
You're better off having really a bigger screen.
It's a physical copy. I've got a physical copy.
Oh, physical, okay.
I mean, I can probably put the PDF up, I suppose. وجاوزنا ببني
That's before that, yeah. ببني إسرائيل البحر, yeah.
البحر فأتوا على قوم يعكفون على أصنام لهم قالوا يا موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما
لهم آلهة
قال إنكم قوم تجهلون إن هؤلاء متبر ما هم فيه وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. We took the children of Israel across the sea, but when they came upon a people who worshipped idols, they said, O Moses, make a god for us like theirs. He said,
okay, translation, worship idols is not good. يعكفون. يعكف is maybe devoted to, standing and attending to idols.
Devoted.
If you stand in front of an idol for a long time, then you tend to be ambitious. Respect, your back will twist a little bit and will be ma'kuf, will be like this, inclined, because usually they don't stand like a military stand, they stand with inclination.
Well, they submissive to.
If you do that, yeah, is a form of devotion, a form of attention, attending idols. In that case, because they believe it is connected to the divine, it is an act of worship. But the physical act is called ukuf. So translating it as worship is not good. It should be devoted to idols or standing in what you call this?
Submission.
Not submission.
Penitent.
If you stand not in ruku but in between, just by bowing, exactly, bowing to idols, standing in front of them in a bowing to idols. That's akifa. But not bowing just and leaving it to one time. No, almost continuously and persistently bowing. Everyone coming do the bowing and stand for some time and so on. And if they got all of them are bowing. That's it. That's ukuf. That's an act of worship because the belief of that entity being divine or connected to the divine. That's what makes then an act of make it related to ibadah. Before that, it's just a physical positioning. If you do that, for example, people present in their kings sometimes, they are also do not stand like an army. They also bow a little bit. Yeah, that's very common with kings and so on. Is that ukuf like an ukuf al idol? No, because it doesn't mean that guy is a divine in that sense. So just a sign of greeting, excessive maybe it's not nice, but it's an act of greeting, not an act of worship. With whatever the act of worship means, we will go into that. That's where I mentioned that there's a circularity, hidden circularity. You have to dig deep until you break the circle, and we are step by step trying to go deeper to break the circle. Yeah, carry on.
Continuing the translation, they said, "Oh Moses, make a god for us like theirs." He said, "You really are foolish people. The cult these people practice is doomed to destruction, and what they have been doing is useless." And that's Quran 138. That's Surah 7, 138, 139.
Actually, the exact way that the activities that people are involved is in vain. It will be destroyed. It will go in nowhere. Without the word cult and so on. Because in هؤلاء متبر ما هم فيه. That's what they are involved are, will be destroyed, will have no meaning, it will be in vain. وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. So again, he took liberty by adding the word cult. That's the problem. The translator always have that in the back mind, possibly influenced by some other exegesis or by history or by Wahhabi movement, and I think that's what the ayah says. What the ayah says is very plain. Look at it. It's in بلسان عربي مبين, with an evident or clear Arabic language. You don't add anything unless dictated by another ayah or by necessity of reason. And you have to argue why did you use that extra word. Try to be as literal as possible. Good? And if you need a clarification, like the ayahs of Qadar, Allah guides or my wounds or misguides or so on, then you may put in parentheses, meaning He allows the one who chooses misguidance to be misguided. But because he could not have done that without permission of the divine for him to choose whatever it is, so the action is attributed to Allah because he has the absolute dominance, something like that. That will be a very long explanation, but it is okay to put that in parentheses. I wouldn't finish it in the text itself. That would be a bit of cheating. Or it's the correct one, because you take other evidence from the Quran, but put it in parentheses. Or if you have alternative words, put the word you think is the best close to describe that Arabic word and parentheses, another word, comma, another synonym, another comma, so that people can see, oh, it's very difficult to translate. It is not exactly the same like the English one. But the closest one is this one, and another one may have certain taste, aspects, and so on. Okay?
They wanted Moses to make for them a Sanam that would be a substitute of Allah, the Exalted and Majestic, saying this is not an innovation of the present author of this work, neither is it a statement made by any of those who consider themselves modernists or even rationalists. Rather, it is an old saying that emanates from Allah, one that must now be reiterated to elucidate its proper meaning, as has been reported in Tafsir al-Baghawi.
Yeah.
So this is
one Mufassir, this is the past note at this point. Yeah.
This is from Qatada. Okay, just a second.
What does it say?
Yeah, so I'll do the translation. Qatada said it was those people from Lachem, and they were descended from Raqqa. When the children of Israel saw that, they said, "O Moses, make for us an ilah, God, that we may worship, which is similar to their aliha, gods." This was not a complaint or complaining of the children of Israel in relation to the oneness of Allah, but its meaning, make for us anything to the semblance of which that may enhance our closeness to Allah.
Exactly. That's because he did not develop the concept of Watan and Sanam as it was not developed so precisely. So subconsciously felt but not developed like what we did in the previous section. We try to analyze that, go to the depth, which is natural. Usually the normal natural language of, especially of non-educated, illiterate nation like the Arabs, will be, let's say, common sense. just basic feeling and so on. And later on, you have to dig deeper. Especially if a revelation like the Quran comes, you have to dig deeper in the various aspects and meanings. Okay, carry on.
But meaning for us, anything to the semblance of which may enhance our closeness to Allah, they thought that it would not harm the religion. Such was their severe ignorance. Moses said, "Verily, you are an ignorant people, and greatness is to Allah."
Yeah.
That is also accompanied with the interpretation which is found in the Tafsir al-Khazan. Al-Baghawi, may Allah have mercy on him, said, "This was not a complaint or complaining of the children of Israel in relation to the oneness of Allah the Almighty, but its meaning, make for us anything the semblance of which may enhance our closeness to Allah the Almighty." They thought that would not harm the religion. Such was their severe ignorance.
Well, it's essentially take the same wording of Qatada. Baghawi is using the same wording of Qatada, essentially. Yeah.
Mention is also made about it in the Tafsir of Athalabi, Al-Jawahir Al-Hasan fi Tafsir Al-Quran.
Al-Jawahir.
Okay, it's been translated as Hasan.
No, the beautiful jewelry.
Okay.
So jewelry plural, it will be beautiful with plural. Hisan, Al-Jawahir Hisan.
في تفسير القرآن. And Ibn Jurayj said the tamathil, statuettes, figurines of cows were made of stones, sticks, and so on, and that was the first trial of the calf. And their saying, "Make for us a god as they have gods," shows their approval of what they saw of those gods due to their ignorance. So they wanted that to be in the law of Moses. And in a sentence, what draws him closer to Allah? Otherwise, it is far from saying to Moses, "Make us a Sanam that we will worship and disbelieve in your God." And for this,
again, you see, he's not able to see the real situation. Say, he thought we have the other alternative. This is a representation of God, or it is a separate other entity. No, that's not the case. He's unable to see what the reality of Sanam means. That's the problem. People could not distinguish. People of Islam, not the mushrikeen, could not distinguish between a statue or artifact and the represented deity and the connection, and thus led to the Sanam, which is really a statue in itself, but it's also a representation or a housing or a body or a conduit to a divinity. We discussed that previously, which I think clarifies the matter completely. Get the root of the matter, which people just having some kind of amorphous, mysterious feeling and confused ideas in their minds. We have analyzed, I think, deep enough to have the separation clarified in the previous section about Asnam al-Awthan. Good.
What draws him closer to Allah? Otherwise, it is far from saying to Moses, "Make us a Sanam that we worship and disbelieve in your God." And as for this, I said the similarity that the Prophet ﷺ said in relation to the words of Abu Waqid al-Laythi, "O Messenger of Allah, make that and what for us as they have a that and what." And the Prophet ﷺ said he denounced it, and he said, "Allahu Akbar, Allah is greatest. By Allah, you have said, as the children of Israel said, make for us a god like their gods. You shall follow the way of those who were before you," from the hadith, and Abu Waqid didn't intend corruption by this matter. That's a Thalabi.
That's what Abu Waqid intended. That has a confused idea. And he said in the hadith, we were close to Jahiliyyah. We were still ignorant. That's the only way he can express himself. Coming from a phase where we have about divinity, we have shirk and aliha, we have just confused idea. We don't have anything precise. What we did previously in that chapter is to precise these things as much as we can. Does not mean that people at the time knew these precision, but they have some kind of confused feeling and ideas. That's it. Okay.
May Allah have mercy upon Athalabi. Given that he has been somewhat confused here by the lack of clarity in his mind concerning the meaning of the word Sanam, idol, and its relationship with that of Ilah, God, he gave the addition. And some people said that this was from the children of Israel's kufr, disbelief. The word Ilah requires that that, and this is possible, and what I mentioned first is more correct, and Allah knows best. I would submit, and they're saying, this is your God and the God of Moses.
Who is saying that? It's a Salabi, yeah? Is that the one who
Thalabi,
is contemporary? Yeah, because he's coming from Wahhabi background. He will never get up to that until he digs deeper. But he seems to be incapable or unwilling. Or he thinks what he has is khalas, all what is there. That's the problem of it is not all there. You have to go deeper.
I would submit, and they're saying, this is your God and the God of Moses. And Moses' answer here strengthens the second possibility. Yes, who must believe that such matters came from their wickedness and those who are close to kufr. So I'm not sure what that means there. So I would submit that they're saying...
What Salabi says, that what the people, that Anwat and the people, is not really what they said is something of kufr or something like that. It's minor. It is just, they want the representation. But the representation is absolutely forbidden. It is kufr. Because the representation cannot be a sanam, as they believe, unless they believe Allah can be inside the sanam or connect to the sanam in a certain way, which is impossible. It is kufr. So it's not, he's trying to accelerate them, no.
So some containment of divine, which makes him contingent, basically.
Yeah, all of these things. That's the philosophical depth. We don't go to the physical depth, but that's kufr. And that's the reason the Old Testament is full of threatening anyone making a molten image, a stone image, a wood image, and so on, in very long extension of God. Yeah, that's it.
Without any doubt, I would submit that the phrasing as expressed in the Quran is the most precise in existence. Allah has stated, then they came upon a people who kept to the worship of idols.
They're bound to the idols. Again, its translation may keep you wavering, even using the word of worship is again wrong. But all of this is a nightmare. It's really a nightmare.
It's been sedimented, so it's become taken as a written now, isn't it?
You have to go deeper than that and get those sediments thrown away. Then you get to the bottom rock.
Indeed, it is Allah from His knowledge who has set out the reality of the situation by way of this expression. It is clear that it was not just simply a matter of tamathil, rather it was one of asnam. In the belief of these people, they had the conception of some linkage between the idol.
Listen what the ayah says. When they crossed the sea, they came to people who are devoted or bowing to idols. Sanam. That's the fact as presented by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? Then the Israelites, what the Israelites says, express what they believe. Wrong or right, but that's the common expression. قالوا اجعل لنا إلها. For them, Sanam and Ilah are identical. For them. كما لهم آلهة.
In the belief of these people, they had the conception of some linkage between their idol and their concept of divinity or divine being.
It may be confused, it may be amorphous, but it's clear. And Allah translated their statement really using Ilah, not Sanam. Their statement. His statement is Sanam. Because that bowing and that ukuf is on Asnam. Not on Tamathil. Notice, is on Asnam. Which by definition having some connection or deep relation to the divinity. For the Israelites, Sanam, Ilah, almost the same. They don't bother about these fine details. Even they are more educated nation maybe than the Arabs at the time of the Prophet, possibly because they come from Israel and they have schools and they have old scripts of Ibrahim and so on and old literature and so on. But still, they were still low level in depth of these issues. And Musa has to struggle with this issue and give so many injunctions about fashioning statues and idols and all these things. Okay? So, carry on.
That was the essence of what they believed. The verse itself expresses that clearly. They said, O Moses, make for us a god as they have gods. In the narrative presented by Allah concerning the words expressed by the children of Israel, or rather some of them, with the most concise and accurate representation that they were those who did not have the ability to distinguish a deity and the idol representing one. Thus the image presented of them having the perception that God is an idol and the idol is a god. The proof to substantiate that is where they said, make for us a god as they have gods. We know of this absolutely because it is Allah who has informed us of the narrative.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, they have seen the Asnam, idols of the people that they encountered. We are not informed of any detailed exchanges that may have taken place between them and the people they encountered. For example, whether they asked specifically about those Asnam or had other forms of encounters, like that which occurred during the narrative of the people of Ibrahim, which we will consider in due course. Indeed, Ath-Thalabi, may Allah have mercy upon him, was good to point out when he referred to the phrase used in the narrative of the Kahf. The reality of their words being, make us an idol for Allah as they have idols. Yet the expressed phrasing of the Quranic text is far more accurate and more revealing of the nature of belief that they held and the corruption that clouded their concepts. Neither can it be excluded that they held divinity to be a national issue. Each people or nation having a god or gods, the text indicates that as they have gods, it would seem that they did not grasp that Allah is the Lord of all creations. There is no other deity.
More like a private god of their tribe. Maybe they have this confusion. That's possible. Their history in the books indicates somehow that they think that that other people have gods is for them, is not for us. We should not take foreign gods and things like that. That's full in the Old Testament. But again, going to the same confusion, because identify gods with idols. That's it. You see the point.
It would seem that they did not grasp that Allah is the Lord of all creation. There is no other god deity in existence, let alone a concept of a national god for the children of Israel. So, Sheikh, if they had this belief system, if this confusion, would that mean that they didn't have Tawheed to start with, then, irrespective of the appropriation?
No, they have, but it is confused. It's not sharp. It's not well defined. I'm saying. Like, for example, until now, most people in the West and so on, if you talk about Judaism and so on, they're struggling between what they call a Yahwism and Judaism and vicious monotheism and non-vicious monotheism. They have no concept that sovereignty and issues that are related to divinity. It's complete disarray in the 20th century. So that's it. And still they regard themselves as monotheists. And they don't grasp that having scholars and monks and kings legislate and so on is taking them making them mushrik. So I think this will not undermine in any fundamental sense there. And that's the reason Adi ibn Hatim objected. He's a Christian. He's not an Arab pagan. He was a Christian. He said, we do not worship it. We do not attribute to them any divinity. Let me say Allah how to explain them which divinity is attributed to them. This is beyond the concept of most Christian and many Jews also. Wow. So, Tawheed in its crisp, sharp form you'll find only in the Quran. But in time past, because the level of understanding of the people, the development, maybe this had been forgiven and not stressed that much. Hinted to, depending upon the level of developments.
Professor, here I have the tafsir of Jilani, the famous Sufi. He says something very similar, almost 90% correct to what are you saying, although he did the same mistake, did not differentiate Timthal, Watan, Sanam, he did not differentiate. But let me get you to comment on this. He said, اجعل لنا إلها, the ayah, اجعل لنا إلها مثالا واحدا مشابها لله نعبده ونتقرب نحوه. A statue for Allah that represent him, that we
essentially the same.
enslave. Yeah.
The problem is that the language he's using is not precise. He seems to identify Timthal and Sanam.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Although here he says something beautiful. He says that those Bani Israel thought, ونحن كيف نعبد ونتقرب إله موهوم لا نراه ولا نشاهده. So how come we approach a God that we do not see? We need something that make it visualize.
We can focus on it. Yeah. Maybe
absolutely.
That's their feeling of the argument. So he's arguing in their behalf in that sense. Yeah.
Yes. So he stresses that this timthal that they wanted Musa to fashion is a representation for Allah, mithalan lillah.
Yeah, but not just mithalan. It's more than that.
Sanam, yes.
But he doesn't distinguish between statue and sanam.
Yeah, yeah, but at least he got 90% correct because
No,
I tell you,
I'm not denying. It's good. It's good. I'm not saying anything. I'm just
yeah,
saying if you don't go that deep, you will be taken for a ride by various factions and so on. You have to go deeper
absolutely,
than that.
absolutely.
In addition, the issue that Timthal is not Sanam is absolutely clear from the issue with Sulaiman that they make for him tamathil ويقولون God. It is impossible for a prophet to to uh, to to ask his servants or his shayateen or whatever under his control to make for him asnam. But the
Yes,
Israelite, by the way, we say in his later age, Sulaiman became a kafir and mushrik and he worshipped the idols. They misunderstood that again also. So that's a real problem. Maybe Sulaiman told him, no, this is different, but they didn't go in their holes. He had some Wahhabi in his time and he could not deal with them. That's it. Similar people like that. But the disease is old. It's as old as humanity. And you have
yeah,
everything to clarify. Luckily, enough knowledge has developed and the Quran has come clarifying things which were not clear in time past in the precise level. Good?
yes, indeed, yes.
It would seem that they did not grasp that Allah is the Lord of all creation. There is no other God deity in existence, let alone a concept of a national God for the children of Israel. As has been cited in the tafsir of the notable judge Abu Muhammad Abdul Haq ibn Ghalib ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Tamam ibn Atiyah al-Andalusi al-Muharabi, and that's in 542. He passed away 542 Hijrah. The Qadi Abu Muhammad said, and what is apparent from the dialogue of the children of Israel to Moses, make us a god as they have gods, is that they have preferred what they saw from the gods of those people, that they wanted this to be in the law of Moses, and in a sentence that which brings him closer to God. Otherwise, it is far away to say to Moses, make us an idol that we will worship and disbelieve in your God. And Moses knew that this is
repeating what I think Al-Baghawi and people before, say, Al-Jilani and so on. Yeah, it's similar. It seems to be they all start from Qatada essentially, but they didn't improve on it to any great extent.
And
we
Moses
blame the level of sophistication and philosophy and mathematics at that time was not progressing enough.
And say to Moses, make us an idol that we worship and disbelieve in your God. And Moses knew that this is ignorance from them. They asked something forbidden, which to engage associates or partners in worship. And from it, he deals with the worship of Asnam and kufr in Allah, the Sublime and Mighty. Similar to is what has been said by the Prophet ﷺ regarding the statement of
Abu
Waqid al-Laythi during the conquest of Hunain, as they passed through a great green sidra tree, it was said, O Messenger of Allah, make for us a Dhat and Wat, as they have a Dhat and Wat. The Dhat and Wat was an object that the Mushrikeen used to hang their weapons upon, and it was a convening place for them to gather there. So Abu Waqid and others put forth the suggestion to the Prophet ﷺ for him to legislate this and allow them to do it. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ saw that it was a pretext for the worship of that kind of statement, and he denied it utterly to them, replying, Allah is greatest. That is like what the people of Moses said, make for us a God like their gods. You shall follow the way of those who were before you.
We'll come to a chapter for that, section for that and what anyway. So they are essentially with slight touches of this one more than this one and so on, but I don't think they went to the full depth. And the full depth requires that you strictly make a difference between Timthal and Sanam. If you don't do strictly the difference, because the physical shape is the same, you are in trouble.
The Qadi Abu Muhammad said Abu Waqid did not mean to intend corruption by this. Some of the people said that was from the kufr of the children of Israel. The word ilah requires that, and this is possible. And what I meant first is more correct, and Allah the Almighty knows best.
But this will be discussed what Abu Waqid meant or not meant, and what the meaning was, and so on, and all of these things. Yeah, welcome.
The Qadi Abu Muhammad, may Allah have mercy upon him, indeed caused harm with his Maliki principles of Sadd al-Dhara'i, blocking the means, and Malat al-Amal, together with other speculative delusions that are not based upon definitive evidence. Thus his statement, and from it he deals with the worship of asnam and kufr in Allah the Sublime and Mighty. As from where he said, in which to engage associates or partners in worship, that is a grave mistake, for there is no association at all, neither in worship nor in anything else. Rather, it is related to the harsh prohibition of taking Allah to be a sanam, and that it is an act of kufr. A belief in the possibility of representing Allah with a sanam requires necessity of comparing Allah to his creation, or the permissibility of Allah's inclusion in some of his creation. By necessity, this stems from the beliefs which constitute kufr. Indeed, it is likening Allah to his creation and attributing inferiority to him. And the permissibility of al-hulul, incarnation, and ittihad, union with the divine. In the final analysis, it is the root of all shirk and kufr in the world. Perhaps the format in the verse immediately following that, where it is not fully grasped, and this is Quran 7:140, قال أغير الله أبغيكم إلها وهو فضلكم على العالمين, and that is, he said, why should I seek any God other than Allah for you, when he has favored you over all other people? For some of the unenlightened minds, especially the minds of those who recite the Quran but it does not go beyond their throats, they would think that this contradicts what we have originally said. That they never wanted anything except for Allah, but only wanted a sanam or tamathil by way of a visual representation, just as it is the case with asnam on behalf of the supposed gods that these asnams are to take the place of. In response, we say, with the help of Allah's guidance, that this is illusory, indeed a gross error. That is because the plain text of what Moses, peace be upon him, said to them is evident. They said, make for us a god as they have gods. And Moses said, you really are foolish people. The cult these people practice is doomed to destruction, and what they have been doing is useless. With this, the complete response ends as per the text. There is no doubt that Musa alayhi salam lucidly explained to his people in simplified, appropriate language what this situation was, namely that the true God of Allah is one and the same. He is not an individual of a species nor of a genus. There is nothing comparable or unto his likeness whatsoever. Hence it is impossible that there could be any notion of there being a surah, picture, image, or a timthal, statue, figurine of him. He had not given them as yet a name to address him by, that is, until Allah had outlined it clearly for them. Ihya Asir Ihya, I am who I am, or Yahweh. Great explanation for this will be provided in subsequent chapters with specific reference to the Old Testament. For the present discussion, the Old Testament passage reads that Moses said to God, indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, the God of your forefathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you.
Yahweh, I am the one who is. I am who he is, he is the eternal one, the necessarily existing. That's a sentence which have this meaning. I am who I am. I am who exists necessarily. That's it.
Moreover, God said to Moses, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. That's the Old Testament 3:1-4.
Actually, that all has happened, but after crossing the sea and Musa rebuked them, it will be simple-minded to think that he will kill them with that half sentence. He must give them much more education than that. But the Quran is not busy giving the details of the education, because all the Quran contain better education than that. But he just mentioned that he rebuked them. That's number one. And then the conclusion after that of Allah, if a sanam can be fashioned for Allah, the I am who I am, the necessarily existing, that Sanam cannot be Allah. So it's another deity. It's impossible to fashion a Sanam for Allah. That's excluded by necessity of reason. So if you ask for Sanam, you are essentially, even if you think otherwise, you are asking for another deity. It can't be, because Allah cannot be represented or included or merging or unified or in the belly of a woman, or it's impossible. In that case, you have another deity that dictated by necessity of reason, even if you think otherwise. Your thinking is wrong. Yeah.
Then Moses, peace be upon him, after the reply had been given, was instructed to teach the children of Israel about the attributes of Allah, what He is, what He isn't, either in the present assembly or an alternate one. Moses spoke to them to outline what Allah the Almighty had instructed him, resuming with the wording, He said, which means hair. He added, saying, or he said after that on another occasion. He said, why should I seek any God other than Allah for you when He has favored you over all other people? That's Quran 7:140. Perhaps He told them that if He had responded to their request and made a Sanam for them, this idol would necessarily have been a statue of something other than Allah, whom they knew before when He named Himself to them previously as being I am who I am, or Yahweh. The children of Israel well knew that Allah had given them preference through saving them from the clutches of the Pharaoh, parting the sea and drowning the pursuers, and it is impossible that there be any representation of Allah to resemble His creation. Strength is lent to this matter by way of the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, when he cited these Quranic verses in relation to the matter of Dhat and Wat, didn't go beyond his saying, you really are foolish people, and you shall follow the way of those who were before you. Neither should it be ruled out that Moses ﷺ gave the children of Israel a stern reprimand for even using the word gods, even if it was utilized in relation to the nation of people that they had encountered.
We don't know, but we expect that. Maybe his focus was not that, because already said, is this I am who I am, everything else is not I am. So that's it. And the idols and the gods of the other nation do not exist. They're just imagination. That's to be concluded easily. And that I think the Israelites, the one who listen and understand properly, would have concluded easily, even at that level of sophistication and philosophy anyway. Okay.
No credence is lent to the notion of that. There is no other God or gods in existence. There is only Allah, Lord of all creation, and He is not exclusive as the God of the children of Israel. What we have said about the justification for the repetition of the word He said is in essence valid, as has been also mentioned by the scholarly literature Sheikh Muhammad al-Tahir ibn Ashur. May Allah have mercy upon him. In At-Tahrir wa Tanwir. Repetition of the word He said that is resumed in the continuation of the narrative relating to Moses answer that Allah the Almighty relates. He said, why should I seek any God other than Allah for you? Similar, it is to be seen when the Almighty said elsewhere. He said, all of you get out, you are each other's enemies. To where He said, there you will live. 7215. So that's 724 and 721 and 725. It would appear that it is repeated in the narrative of such sayings. If the narrative is quite long, or because it is relating to a transition from the purpose of reprimanding their particular question to the purpose of then reprimanding them of the grace of Allah upon them. Gratitude for that blessings requires them to be restrained from attempting to worship that which is a non-benefactor. It is from ascending in the inference to the method of dialectical submission. If these gods weren't in vain, an attempt at worshipping them and turning away from Allah who bestowed blessings upon you would be kufr, or a call to foolishness, and it is a far cry from joining them in such foolish matters. And that's Tahrir wa Tanwir.
Possibly that's what Musa said, but what I'm more inclined to think that he said, listen, the I am who I am, Yahweh, give you preference of all creation, is the only deity. These other deity gods, in plural, with small g, gods, they have reference, they don't exist, they're just imagination. And the Asnam are just, people believe they are Asnam for certain deities, the people who are making ukuf, bowing to them, because they are the completely ignorant or they brain dead. That's it. In reality, they are just tamathil. The real is no more than tamathil. But the people believe they are now for certain deities which do not exist. There's only one, and the only one is not representable by any sanam or by any picture, in the sense that the asnam representing those deities is not possible. And we cannot draw a picture for him or make a statue because he has no shape, he's not physical, etc. Just impossible. And he cannot be inside in the physical things or in a belly of a woman or whatever it is. So that's impossible. So that's not the way you relate to God. You have to find other ways of relation. There are other ways allowed
Absolutely.
by God.
Absolutely. Professor, that's exactly what Jailani said in his tafsir. Let me just quote it to you. إن هؤلاء العاكفين الضالين متبر مهلك معدم ما هم فيه من عبادة التماثيل الباطلة العاطلة الهالكة في أنفسها لأنه في الحقيقة لا وجود لها أصلا. So those who pose in front of those statues, although I know you prefer to call them Sanam, yes. So he's saying those who bow in front of them, in reality, they are bowing to nothing. There is no representation to these.
Absolutely.
Asnam.
No,
Yes.
but this is the Jilani talking. We are taking what the next ayah, when Moses said, are you wanting me to choose you another deity beside Allah who gave you preference over the world? What does it relate to the previous? It's a further education and the discussion what possibly Musa was educating them about, which is summarized by this one sentence. That's the other issue. So Julani talk about the ayah and the meaning behind that for someone who reads the Quran now, and someone who wants sophisticated. But what the next ayah, which someone may go to, actually Musa interpreted they're asking for Sanam that they want another deity. No, it does not mean that. It must have made an expansion and conclude to say this, therefore, it is all these deities do not exist, they are nonsense. So they want me to get nonsense for you, which does nothing, and leave the one who give you preference over the people and saved you from Egypt, something like that, to move them toward being thankful to the one who saved them from Egypt also. Not only the fact, but how benefit they got from him also, to mobilize their feeling of love and submission and so on.
Do you want me to read what he says on the tongue of Musa? ثم قال موسى متأسفا أغير الله الواحد الأحد الصمد الذي ليس.
That's what we should have read. Yeah.
Yes. الذي ليس كمثله شيء أصلا أبغيكم وأطلب لكم أيها الحمقى العمي الضالون في تيه الغفلة إلها من مصنوعاته يعبد له بالحق ويتقرب إليه والحال إنه هو سبحانه فضلكم على العالمين إذ لا مظهر له أكمل منكم فكيف تعبدون المفضول المرذول وما عرض عليكم أيها الجاهلون لم تعرفوا مرتبتكم الجامعة الكاملة وعليكم أن تعدوا نعم الله التي أنعمها عليكم لعلكم تتنبهون على توحيد النعم.
But I think he did not go. I think Musa was better than that. He would tell them it's not possible for Allah to have a Sanam anyway, and these Asnam point to nothing. That's it.
Although he tried to argue that this is our makhluk, so how come
it doesn't help. Even makhluk could be regarded as deity, like a jinn who ran away from Allah. Then they have a divine capability, at least. So it doesn't. It's not
persuasive.
It's not completely comprehensive, excluding. What Musa would have stressed to say, these other ones do not exist. But in any case, if you ask for a Sanam of Allah, you are asking for another deity, which does not exist. But Allah exists, and He is the I am who I am. And He is the one who got you out of Egypt. Remember that. That's something you know and you feel and you must appreciate. All the other things are just claims and apparent things and action which directed to emptiness, to nothing. That the people are making ukuf and bowing in front of these statues, believing it is connected to the divine, is just nonsense. Indicates no existence. That doesn't prove anything. Yeah, something like that. I think he must have gone a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
Still he's stuck on al-makhluk and so on. There's not an issue. It's another issue. There's no such. There's also حلول اتحاد divine attributes.
Okay, continue. Regarding what was stated in Tafsir al-Alusi, he said, "Why should I seek any God other than Allah for you?" That's 7140. This is the answer given. What is presented being an introduction and prelude to it. Perhaps that is why the wording of "he said" is repeated. The Shaykh al-Islam said it is an initiation to clarify the affairs of Allah the Almighty that necessitate the worship to Him. Glory be to Him. After clarifying that, what they requested.
Meaning he's giving a class after that. Finish the issue of these idols and the ukuf and so on. Now he is giving another class that further education. But what he has given in light of the preceding ayah and how it's mentioned after that, we can guess what we just discussed roughly in various forms. But I think Musa was deeper than Jilani, almost certainly. Or Jilani and the others say this is makhluk, marbub, and so on. They are wavering. It doesn't matter makhluk or marbub or not. They point to nothing. And if you, for the one who his existence is well established and will set you, the one who saved you from Egypt and to split the sea for you, you see that with certitude that he exists. This one is not represented by statue. It's impossible. Finish.
Yeah. He tried to argue, how come you worship the inferior while you leave the superior?
It's irrelevant. There's no inferior aslan. There's no.
Yeah, no inferior indeed.
I think Musa is doing better than that.
Absolutely.
So even in that old ancient time, he was. Anyway, he's a prophet. He's revealing revelation. You expect to be more sophisticated, but you cannot blame Jilani to be on that level. Definitely Musa is superior to him. What other details we can guess, but the summary is clear. We can conclude from that the one who saved you from Egypt definitely exists. You have seen it and felt it in your skin by crossing the sea, and by the miracles which smashed Pharaoh down completely. 9 miracles. They have seen it and experienced through it without any doubt about that. So that one exists. And that one is impossible to be housed or contained or in any sense that making a statue become an idol like the mushrikeen think. And what the mushrikeen are believing in and worshipping is nothingness. It's just empty. It's just an imagination. It doesn't exist outside. Does not make them believer this way. They're still mushrik. But this is the entity does not exist outside, it exists in their brain, and they're worshipping an illusion in their brains, which is very well possible. And that's what the accountability goes on. That's what in your brain, not what is outside. Is it or not it is? Or something like that, with less sophistication maybe in the language. At the time, these things necessarily existing and were not yet developed, but sufficient development was already there since Ibrahim. To phrase that better than what our scholars have phrased. And our scholars failed to see that because they don't go comprehensively through the Quran. That's the problem. They get stuck with one ayah and forget the other ayah in another surah. And that's not the way to deal with the Quran, especially in deeper issues like that. And more specifically in the issue of qada and qadar and so on. This is the deepest one which you have to scan the whole Quran and every ayah and every aspect until you get the full picture. Because no way one ayah or one context will give you the full picture. But they have failed. We know definitely that they have failed.
After clarifying that what they requested of his worship is something that cannot be brought forward in the first place because it is null and void. Therefore, between them, he said, and with each of them being the words of Moses, alayhi salam, as Shihab said, the word he said was repeated with the union between the two speakers because there is a rhetorical evidence of their preference over the words, and it was not inferred by mental objection because they are simplistic people. That was the tafsir. Now, this is your comment. Well, what Al-Ulusi has outlined is purely in error. This isn't the answer, and it wasn't what was touted. Rather, this was a complete answer to our tafsir. As for what Imam Ibn Taymiyyah made, made it the start of an exposition, appears closer to our statement, except for his contradictory and false madhab in relation to knowing God.
Yeah.
He made a new statement relating to the affairs of Almighty Allah the Almighty that necessitate the takhsis, specification of worship to him. Glory be to him. But the people didn't ask for anything except a sanam of Allah to speak of the sifat,
Yeah.
the divine attributes of Allah, and what he should describe as a God, regarding of whether it is a matter of particularization to worship. I think regarding or regardless.
I don't know. I wasn't focusing properly. Read it again.
So, but the people didn't ask for anything except the Son of Allah to speak of the sifat of Allah and what he should describe as a God, regarding of whether it is a matter of particularization to worship.
I can't connect that in my mind. I just read it again. Yeah, it's just answering Ibn Taymiyyah, trying to correct an error. We have to review it again. But anyway, Ibn Taymiyyah went to a good portion, and then he reversed 180 degrees because he stuck with this uluhiyya, rububiyyah, and so on, which is influencing his work. And he did not get the issue of Sanam and so on properly. And he talks about worshipping pictures and things like that, which is nonsense. He has to specify what does he mean with pictures. If he means just the statue or the picture, this is false. Nobody worships those. If he means they are Sanam, I need the exposition which we did. I think that's the Achilles heel of Ibn Taymiyyah. Alusi's nonsense is based because he's a Wahhabi. That's the problem. So he will never find the way.
With it also comes the unraveling of the problem concerning that and Luat. Yeah. Sheikh Abdulaziz Ibn Baz furnished us with the following comment, and that is proved in the collection of At-Tirmidhi and others with a Sahih Isnad from Abu Waqid al-Laythi, may Allah be pleased with him. We went out with the Messenger of Allah for Hunayn, and he had recently left Kufr. Some of the Mushrikeen had a Sidra tree that they used to stay by its vicinity, and upon it they used to hang their weapons. They said of it, that and what. So when we passed by, we said, O Messenger of Allah, make for us a that and what, as they have a that and what. In reply, he, peace be upon him, said, it is an enormity that what you have said. By the one in whose hand my soul is, you have said as the people of Moses said, make for us a God as they have their gods. You will surely embark upon the ways of the people before you. What they said, make for us a that and what, as they have a that and what, resembling what the children of Israel said, make for us ilah, as they have their alihah, gods, thereby giving consideration to the meaning and objective behind the expression and not just given the wording. This is your comment. Hence, we would say, yes, indeed, the lesson by way of meaning and not simply by way of wording. It does not appear that you have actually understood the original meaning, as you have not elucidated the wording. Is that not evidence? Given the seriousness of the topic covered, you approach the reading of the Book of Allah at such a superficial level without digesting and representing it accurately.
Again,
Thus, you definitely are from amongst those who recite the Quran, but it does not go beyond their throats. That has been proven to be from the traits amongst the traits of the Kharij, those that go to the extremes, those who are renegades, textually established by mutawatir, continuous recurrent reports from Allah's seal or the prophets, and peace and blessings be upon him. The inevitable result is, if any one of you compares his prayer with their prayer, he will consider his prayer inferior to theirs.
I repeat the same rant. I repeat in various places, so the reader will be alarmed several times that these don't say, we are following Quran and Sunnah. It's just a claim. In reality, they are not following it. They did not digest it. They are actually exited out of it. And their action shows that. Clearly.
I'll skip to the rock. Continuously, we seek refuge from Allah from such betrayal, and we ask Him for sanctity and well-being in this life and that to follow. The truth that the hadith of Dat and Wat demonstrates that our companions mentioned weren't the most fortunate.
Did we have a subsection about Dat and Wat yet?
We've got an entire long chapter next on Dat and Wat, very long,
next,
like 20, like
next,
25.
okay.
Yeah, we'll do that next week, inshallah, but because it's going to be a long page, long chapter. The truth that the hadith of that and what demonstrates that our companions mentioned weren't the most fortunate, as they are those who recite the Quran, but it does not go beyond their throats, be that either in terms of understanding or in terms of the manner of comprehending speech or precise words. Yet it is necessary to precondition to fully review all of the hadith upon the topic and the lines of reporting to really get to grips with what actually happened. Given its considerable length, a separate standalone chapter has been prepared to elucidate these matters in detail.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to conclude here the reading portion. So, inshallah, next week will be page 319, chapter 9. But feel free, comment, elucidate as you feel free.
If it's concerning that Anwar, better wait for the chapter because it clarifies also issues about is ignorance and excuse, is this and this. And that's the main reason that these guys are beating around the bush there. Because Ibn Abdul Wahhab started to say shirk, there's no excuse by ignorance at all. And that was one of his main points, which he was using to kill the people at random. Because there's ignorance is not an excuse or reason for him. So he doesn't need to send a warning before that. He doesn't need to educate the people for that. All of these things. But the other aspects also about divinity and what is the nature of that and what is it exactly, and other interesting things there also, which shows also that the Wahhabi are in blatant violation, even the prophetic reaction to that and what he did with this Sidra. All of that will be in that chapter, inshallah.
Professor, I have perhaps a good question here regarding the ayah, again, going back to اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة, because there's something I really don't understand about. So first of all, let's flash what we've been discussed. So the correct interpretation that ilahan means a sanam that represents Allah in their mind. That one interpretation. The other completely... Yeah, the other completely false interpretation that you find in tafsir of most Wahhabi scholars is that they thought that Qawm Musa wanted to enslaved or be enslaved or worship a deity other than Allah. Ilahan ghayr Allah. And there's a third interpretation which is most common in the books of tafsir, which is like I find it reasonable and in the middle, like Imam Maturidi, the famous creed scholar. So to them, to him, اجعل لنا ilahan means make to us a deity who is less than Allah. That because we are worthless to worship the superior Allah, we want someone who is less inferior.
You can check in the bin. The wording does not support that in anything. This is just his imagination. That's it.
Because scholars like him connect ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى.
That's one ayah. You have to connect to the other. Where are the other ayahs? To connect to everything. But then this is the addressing people of Quraysh and addressing the angels, not Asnam and so on. So something completely different.
So let me read you. It's very short. His a quotation from his tafsir. يشبه أن يكون سؤالهم إلها يعبدونه لا على الكفر بالله والتكذيب لرسوله ولكن لما يروا في أنفسهم أهلا للعبادة لله والخدمة.
I know. You said already that. It's nonsense. Has nothing to do with the ayah. Something else that may be applying to that. And that one is also is a misinterpretation because go to that. If you have the Mus'haf, go to the نعبد ليقربونا. Search for ليقربونا.
Yes.
And read the ayah before and after. It has nothing to do with Asnam. It has different things to do. Read that. It's the beginning, I think, of Surah Al-Hamim al-Sajdah.
In Surah Al-Zumar, yeah, the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. تنزيل الكتاب من الله العزيز الحكيم إنا أنزلنا إليك الكتاب بالحق فاعبد الله مخلصا له الدين. ألا لله الدين الخالص والذين اتخذوا من دونه أولياء
Yeah.
ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى إن الله يحكم بينهم فيما هم فيه يختلفون إن الله لا يهدي من هو كاذب كفار لو أراد الله أن يتخذ ولدا
أيوة. So it's completely different. It has nothing to do with that. It's another issue.
Yeah.
They
So
say
it's talking about offsprings.
we have these allies. We have these allies, which are the daughters of Allah, the angels, and we know they are inferior to the supreme God, but
Yes.
the beloved children from His, they are not sophisticated to say the same substance like the Christians say in the Nicene Creed. They are not that sophisticated, but they are His own offspring from His own being somehow, from His own genealogy somehow. And they have rank with their father. If you want to approach a man, you approach his children.
Absolutely.
You expect them to be accepted by their father and given mediation. And even if they ask for permission will be granted. But then he means that the whole base of the allegation is wrong because Allah has no son. No
offspring.
No offspring whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the whole collapses. So they are attributed there, and the previous ayah says, "Kadibun kafar." Kadib. This is kadib. That they are offspring of Allah, and thus they can bring close to Allah. If that would have been true, it may be true, but it's not. So it's called kadib and kufr by rejecting the clarification through the messenger. It is kadib of the level of kufr.
So this cannot be related or similarly interpreted for the story of Musa?
I'm sorry, guy. I have to close the chapter on that. But because they read only the part of the ayah, they don't read the ayah before and the ayah before. By the way, the first ayah, أعبد الله مخلصا له الدين على الله الدين الخالص. What I mean الدين الخالص means the devotion, the prostration, the ibadah, the complete enslavement. It's pure for him. It has to be pure for him, for nobody else. Based on that, he is the only one who deserves that. It makes sense. Anybody else, it doesn't deserve that. It's contradiction of it contradicts necessity of reason if you analyze it philosophically. But Allah says it's not only false in itself, it will be accounted Yawm al-Qiyamah. So it's deen, it's a devotion. All of that has been neglected in all these interpretations. They got stuck. ما يعبدهم إلا يقربون الله زلفى. And then the Wahhabi say, you call Ya Rasulullah, اشفع لي يا كذا. That's ibadah. First way, ibadah is not ibadah, number one. Secondly, it's not يقربون إلى الله زلفى. Has nothing to do with that. Because that's only for the sons and daughters, by their own being, by their own necessity.
I see.
Okay. So
that
middle one is no good. The two other ones is the first one is the only one really, that, and the Quran is very clear. The Quran, Allah says Himself, أتوا على قوم يعكفون على أصنام لهم. There's no say آلهة, say أصنام. So it's a timthal together with beliefs connected to it. The people who are doing ukuf, making ukuf physically, externally, what you see with your own physical eyes, it is timthal. But what they believe in their mind, it is the timthal of the deity, is a sanam.
Yeah.
That's it.
So essentially that's ibadah.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But this is the fact.
Okay.
It's the fact. And he described the physical action. He doesn't say ibadah, say ya'kufun, devoted and bowing. In that case, it's ibadah, or act of worship, or a nusuk, whatever we call it. That's one. This is the reality of things. The Israelites, they are unable even to make distinction between Sanam and Ilah. اجعل لنا إلها. They don't say اجعل لنا صنما. And I was reporting, they're saying as they blubber, not as the reality is. So that's reporting they're saying, not Allah saying.
Yeah, sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish.
You have to read carefully. That is the difference between the one who reads the Quran to digest, understand, and that is the divine revelation. Every letter, every word has make good sense. Say if it's divine revelation, obviously. If it's not, then check it in the bin. But it's divine revelation, has to be treated differently than that.
Absolutely. No, no. The difficult part is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks for Himself, and sometimes He speaks for those mushrikeen or Qawm Musa or whatever.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to distinguish
Yeah,
which is
the
which.
context will show you who is it, and maybe what the people so with him is say when the Samiri told them or they told each other, هذا إله
Yes.
وإله موسى فنسي. This is nonsense, but that's what they say.
Yeah.
Allah is not approving their saying. It's telling you they say this nonsense.
It's reporting essentially.
It's reporting it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's reported accurate. And
Yeah.
accurate even with the wording. They must have used the word which translated as deity, as ilah, not as son. Allah describes the fact as it is, as known for him with certitude. يعكفون على أصنام لهم. Then the Israelite may be unable through the 100 years living in Egypt to make a distinction between the deity and its timthal and the Sanam. The Sanam is ilah and ilah is the Sanam. Automatically in their mind, they have no ability otherwise. They said, اجعل لنا, make us, fashion us, get a piece of stone and start cutting something which represents Allah. That's what they're asking for.
Yes. Yes.
And most in a state of shock. قال إنكم توجه, you are completely ignorant. You are foolishly ignorant, in a hopeless state of ignorance. And obviously this revocation was not enough because a few months later the Samiri took them for a ride. It's sitting deep. And the Quran said, أشربوا في قلوبهم العجل. The calf has penetrated, soaked in their heart. They cannot get it out.
Yeah. It seems that the worship of the calf was widespread in all civilization. That Greek, the Hittite or the Hittite and Assyrians,
because it's one of the
even
most,
Egypt. Yeah,
because one of the most useful animals. It delivers excellent meat, especially the calves if they're slaughtered. Usually they slaughter the male calves, all of them, keep only few for fertilization. The rest have no function. They don't bring milk and so on. So wait them to get to a reasonable size. Either you do it as a calf with a whitish meat. That's like for kings and so in time past at least. Now it's available a little bit wider, it's more expensive. Or you castrate it and feed it until it gets to a certain size, economic size, depending upon the civilization and so on. And then you don't feed anymore because it will be just wasting food without having more meat. The moment it reaches the level of slaughtering, it's a slaughter, meat. And the female are kept so they can produce more calves and they produce milk. Milk is a very important substance. Half of the livelihood of the people was based on milk, with cheese, with butter and so on. It's very substantive. In addition, new meat. In addition, and all of together, taken together, you have also that they are very good for plowing the ground and helping
agriculture
and pulling carriage and so on. They're very good in that, as good as horses and so on, pulling carriage, but not to be ridden because their back is not suitable for riding.
Yeah, so much benefits that it reminds me with a joke that Ibn Saud once he was told that the cow has اللبانة والدهانة while you do not have anything.
When he screamed, the people of Houta had an argument. That's our village. And they are known to be stubborn and so on. And they have a dispute with them. And they dispute him and he was unable to respond. At that time, there was a situation was democratic and the Ikhwan was around. Nobody can confront them, otherwise he'll see the sword. So he screamed with his head off, saying, Ya Ayal al-Bqara, sons of the cow. They said, what's wrong with al-Bqara? Al-Bqara يأتي منها اللبانة والدهانة. The cow delivers the milk and duhn and the fat and butter. And from you, nothing comes. Absolutely nothing. May Allah change you or remove you. عسى الله يعدلك أو يبدلك.
Stingy bastard. This
nothing comes to you. It says the cows bring milk and bring fat. What did you bring? You didn't bring anything. At that time, he was so poor that he was borrowing camels from the people and not paying them back even. So that's just history. It was just funny history. So back is a very important, exceptional animal. Superior even to the camel. The camel is only suitable for the desert reality. And the desert areas in the world are very limited and sparsely populated. But where it counts, along the river of Nile, along the two rivers in Iraq and in India, cows or buffalo. But cows are better in the sense because they have more milk, and secondly, they can survive in areas with less water. Buffalo needs really water, needs to be near rivers. Cows can be in the plains of Middle Asia, where the Aryan came from with their cows, and then they occupied India and pushed the inhabitants far to the south and declared their animals to be superior. So the cow is, for the majority of Hindus, is a and we will come also later. We'll come mentioning these stories. The cow is holy and good, and the buffalo is satanic. You will be surprised. We'll get that.
Subhanallah.
The Jamus is satanic, while the cow is divine. Satanic in the negative side, because the Satan and demons are also gods for them, but bad gods. Jamus is a bad god because it belongs to initial people of India who they were fighting and pushing further away and away and away, getting the better places with the main rivers in the northern plain and pushing the poor initial population further to the south. And they are darker in skin, so they enslave them and turn them and then declare them to be impure, and they become then untouchable. But this is all history. We don't need to bother about that. All going to the same root of kufr. Paganism and racism and so on, all goes to the same root of kufr. If you have the clear, strict monotheism, really properly understood monotheism, then all racism, nationalism, all these things will fly away, will be exposed as nothing, fallacy. But this is a philosophical discourse, which is not now for the basis of Tawheed, at least. This is more the overarching development of Tawheed, how it affects a vision of racism, socialism, and all these things. That's the top structure. We have to get the bottom structure right first. We have to deal with our Wahhabis and other idiots in our ranks.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. And then we get to the high level of anti-racism, anti-imperialism, and so on, and show that it comes all from pagan and kufr roots.
Absolutely.
Can't come from Tawheed, properly understood and properly committed to. Not verbal, but really real commitment to.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Barakallah fikum. Barakallah fikum. Shukran.
Now we said this. Any general questions?
If got another brother asking something.
Yeah,
far away, brother.
Sheikh. Yeah, general questions. Just two. Number one, I just wanted to know your opinion on eating from the meat of the people in the book in the West. So, for example, in the United Kingdom, what are the kind of...
We have discussed that billions of times. We have discussed that billions of times.
Point me to the Rash, if you could point me to the video or something.
There's so many videos. I
many.
tried searching myself.
We addressed that. Maybe someone will go through that and clip it, and we make one video with the various selected.
Yeah, because I only joined these Kitab At Tawheed lessons. I've only joined recently, so I don't know. Obviously, I haven't watched.
No, it's in tafsir. It is in not in the book of Tawheed. In tafsir, in previous question and answer.
Yeah, I tried doing searches, but I couldn't find anything. It wasn't because it was one of the Q&A sessions. But it was just, I think it's before we put proper description.
In Arabic also we have addressed it and so on. It's tons.
Okay, so Tafsir Surah Al-Ma'idah, I'll check that out. Maybe it'll be then in that verse over there. And then the other
maybe you addressed that in Tafsir Al-Ma'idah, yeah? I think they will question about that. We have some interaction. That will.
I'll have a look. If I can't find it, then I'll maybe ask you again if I can't find it. What's it called? What was the other one? Oh yeah, so the other one I had was just about. I mean, you probably discussed this a lot of times as well, but I'm not always having been in the other classes about the aura for the man. Just like in
only the two spots, the genitals and the anus. That's it.
Okay. And so, where did the idea of the navel come into it? Was that later on developments from fiqh?
No. It comes in another context. It came and they made it back here. Say if you get your slave girl or slave boy married, then don't look between the navel and the knee. This is a polite way of saying don't look into the genitals. That's it. but expressed between the navel and the knee. What's between the navel and the knee? Which usually people look at, especially for a slave girl, because if you marry her, you have relinquished your right of cohabitation. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the two spots.
Yeah, okay. And does that change? Does the aura change at all when you're praying? Like, is it more than just the what's it called? The two exit points.
It seems to be
praying?
only that, but it is you should cover more because it's the Zinah. And there are various ahadith about that. But strictly speaking, the aura which is prohibited to look at and has to be covered in salah is only that for men. For women, is a little bit more extended because it's hadith related to the ayah in Adam. I have some writing in that is not published yet. Maybe we'll complete it.
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask you about a hadith related to it as well, but I don't have it on me right now.
But anyway, for women, we have the narration about that. What is the clothing of women and salah is very clear. There are various narration. All narration is clear that she has to have qamis. Qamis is essentially the all-over dress, but it doesn't need to be fluffy like jilbab, going all the way to the ka'b, above the feet, and khimar. It must. So that's specified in the hadith clearly. So the aura in salah for women is much more extended, even if she's alone. That's nothing to do with the aura for other men. And some wife of the Prophet said she has to have a jilbab on top of that, but this is only one wife said. And others said no, only these two, khimar and jilbab. But khimar and jilbab, khimar and qamis. And this is the minimum, and this is ijma' on that, narrated from the wife of the Prophet. Obviously, they were praying and he was seeing it. And the hadith about the khimar is clear. لا يقبل الله صلاة حائض إلا بخمار. So, taking all evidences, there is no doubt it had the full body would be covered either with qamis, which is tight, go along the body. It doesn't matter the tightness because you could do it in your own chambers, and the head cover. But it's even the ancient law. And the law of Moses and so on. That's the ancient law. And some places remaining a certain Christian denomination, they said still keeping it. All of this has the Christian have gone completely off rails so long ago, but still it is clearly to be seen here and there in some of the scriptures. And so so that's
if someone's not wearing their head covering, will that be a tabarruj, or will it not be considered tabarruj?
No, tabarruj is something else. Usually all those interpreted wrong. Tabarruj ولا تبرج الجاهلية الأولى. That's for the wife of the Prophet. Tabarruj meaning going out of the house without having khimar and jilbab. That's the tabarruj. But for the wife of the Prophet, they have more severe hijab.
Yeah.
And the address تبرج الجاهلية الأولى is only for the wife of the Prophet. So mentioning it in issue related to the Islamic dress is a mistake. Is a specialty of the wife of the. But check the Quran. You have the index of the Quran, Ahmed Fahd Abdul Baqi, and you have also the search facility. Search for tabarruj, or search for the root baraja. You will find buruj and so on, has nothing to do with that, and you find the word tabarruj only in one place. ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية الأولى. Address it to whom? To the wife of the Prophet. By the way, yesterday we discussed the issue of is niqab desirable, even or not desirable. Definitely is not obligatory, and we mentioned all of that yesterday. Check the recording yesterday, inshallah, when it is out. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And the general question is. So that's it. So tabarruj, and talking about tabarruj and non-tabarruj, blah, 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 all of this. The same we're talking about ikhtilat. Ikhtilat, there's no Sharia word called ikhtilat. What the Sharia talks about is, and exclusively, khalwa, seclusion. That's it, not ikhtilat. That's just imaginative invention of some people later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So that's it. That's a qat'i. The rest is most likely, and there is some hadith there which you can prove easily that they are fabricated. They have nothing to do with that. Fabricated, not intentionally. So one famous hadith which they invoke is that that Sayyidina Allah went up to the masjid and saw the women going the street normally, and he said, you should not be in the middle of the road. You have to go right and left near to the wall. And the narrator claims that I saw the woman going so close to the wall that their clothing or their jilbab is sometimes gets stuck with the wall. Of course, the walls are not very even, not polished. They weren't so sophisticated like nowadays. But even nowadays, sometimes the wall have protrusion, have nice structures in and out and so on, and things get stuck there. That hadith is the narrator is highly suspect. I think he dreamed that, because how do we know that? In his biography, that's one place you can see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the dhikr in a subtle way. This man was having problem with seeing woman looking at woman to the level that he asked Allah to blind him, and he became blind. This is the placebo effect. And then, but he could not tolerate the blinding for a time. Then he supplicated for the blindness to go, and he became seeing. And they mentioned that as one of his virtues. Alhamdulillah. It shows that the man is having an enormous obsession with women and looking at women. So he doesn't need to fabricate that hadith deliberately and attribute to his sheikh. He saw it in a dream and he thought it's a reality. It's very well possible. If it's a level, someone reaches the level that he supplicates to become blind, and he's blinded for some long months, and then supplicate to remove it, then there's a problem with this man. There's an extreme psychotic phenomena in his head. His head is several screws loose, most likely. So I cannot trust his narration. I think he saw that in a dream. And he's the only one in the world that narrated this hadith. Only one. So this put 1 and 2, and you see clearly this hadith is fabricated. Not necessarily intentional. It's just he saw it in a dream. And he could confuse dream with reality. Why? Because of these two stories which attribute to him as a great virtue. You can check them out there. In that, it's not, that's in Abu Dawud, I think. So that's not exist. The only hadith about not being in the middle of the road is actually a funny hadith. Has nothing to do with the middle of the road. They say that the narrator said, where with the messenger of Allah, we're going in a narrow road, and there was a black, big, tough lady walking like a tank in the middle of the road. And one of the Sahaba who was in front, who the Prophet preferred to be usually in the back, he said, leave the back to them, my back to the angel. So he drives them. They don't drive him. He doesn't lead them, he drives them. And one in the front wanted to make the road wide. I say, At-Tariq. Make space for the Messenger of Allah. And the woman asked him, At-Tariq. You make space. And the Messenger said, leave her, don't discuss with her. She is tyrant. Nobody can deal with that tough woman. That's all it is. دعوها فإنها جبارة.
Yeah.
Because if expect someone who is not really tough and tyrannical in the more like a teasing sense, not of the tyranny, which is very, very bad attribute, which the tyrant deserves really fighting and war, not in that sense. But if you see the group of people, and it's clear that maybe she has seen the Messenger of Allah in the back, and he said, make space, At-Tariq. She said, At-Tariq. Why should I make space? That's a woman. It's a very robust stuff. Well, that's it. That's the only one about Tariq with a woman and so on. She did not make space. They made space for her.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Most of these things are nonsense, invented or imagination.
That narration, Sheikh, has Shaddad bin Abi Amr al-Laythi, who is Majhul al-Hal. He's the only one person who has narrated it. So it's
which one?
The hadith about the ladies should not walk the middle of the road and should be.
But one of them, I checked the narrators. One of them is having this problem. Maybe it's Majhul al-Hal. Maybe there was no comprehensive about that. But other books mention these virtues and things like that. Check them in from Shamila.
Yeah, Shaddad al-Laythi was known to be Majhul al-Hal.
Possibly, but also the one narrating from him or something is also this one, the obsessed with blindness and with women and so on. Check all the men. I checked all the men, by the way. And starting from the top, from the Abu Dawud, going down, and then when I checked this guy, it means that these stories are narrated about him in some references. Maybe in Dhahabi, where there, I don't remember exactly, but it's in the Shamila. You can go to the Shamila in the section about al-Bahth al-Ruwat, search in the narrators or Farijal. and put all the names there.
Sheikh, yeah, so just sorry, can I just ask you about just this hadith then? Just how you would interpret this hadith, or whether you even see this hadith as authentic to begin with. So حدثنا عبد الله ابن مسلمة عن مالك عن أبي النضر عن زرعة بن عبد الرحمن بن جرهد yeah عن أبيه قال كان جرهد هذا من أصحاب الصفة قال جلس رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عندنا وفخذيه عفوا وفخذي
وفخذه
there's no had and it's just وفخذي okay وفخذي yeah my yeah
على فخذه أيوة
وفخذي منكشفة فقال أما علمت أن الفخذ عورة
but in Bukhari was sitting sometimes with the fakhr exposed, so it seems there's an issue there. We have to check all this hadith and see. And besides, there's an issue about jarhad, as some people say it's not really that reliable of a narrator and things like that.
Who's that jarhad? Yeah,
I think so. Sheikh Islam, no problem. Shamil just put the name, plug it and see. Usually it will be from the Tabi'in time and the one after the one earlier. The later ones are usually well known and quite reliable. And check if there's another channels for this hadith also.
Yeah. Okay.
The general statement is that Jarhad is not that strong. I think Ibn Hazm said that, but they never bothered about that very much. And also we should also look at the concept, because if people do the Sufa are quite poor, and you can expect them from the low-income people of the Arabs who do not even afford a place in Medina, so they live in the Sufa and just devoted to memorizing the Quran. You can assume safely that the majority of Arabs, the overwhelming majority, were not wearing sarwal, neither long sarwal nor tubban, cut sarwal. So if someone the fakhr is exposed and he has a very miserable dress, short one, he cannot afford a longer, nice one, it's very possible that the real aura became visible. So we have to see these contexts. But the fact that Pastor was clearly having his fakhr exposed, and we know the Messiah Allah used to use sirwals and tubban. Tubban is the one who goes to half the thigh, which is a short, what they call short nowadays. He used to use short or long sirwals, like a sirwal kamis, sirwal. He used to do that. That was quite his habit, but it was not the habit of the Arabs. It was not widespread. They were really naked under the izar. So in that case, it may be possibly that if we say it has any root, it may be like that, because the hadith that he did that is clear. And there's no, in the case he did it, it is impossible to do anything which is haram for his ummah. Or he did it once and was reported to show it is permissible, maybe undesirable. So in that case, it would be awra, something which should be, not necessarily haram to expose. Although generally, awra is, generally, the general feeling of here, awra is something which must be covered. It's haram to expose. But maybe linguistically, awra is something which is undesirable to expose or haram to expose, which could be exposed or couldn't be exposed. Things that not necessarily but indicate tahrim. So all of these has to be analyzed correctly, but getting all the evidences. Because the general ruling is that nothing in the universe is awra until we have a clear evidence that it is taken out of them. Because you have to be thankful for that. Meaning, use your sight to look everywhere. Otherwise, you're not thankful. Use to look at anything. And look deliberately at everything. The same with hearing. Hear everything deliberately. Until the Sharia tell you, don't hear that. Etc.
Yeah. Just on that then, so if we're saying, for example, the awrah for the woman is covering like what you mentioned before. If obviously we live in Western countries and women aren't covered up very well. If you're looking now, but you're not looking with shahwa.
The aura with khimar and jilbab is only for Muslim as a honoration of Muslim, not for a kafira. Question: what is the aura of the kafira, which you should turn your face away from it? It's most likely just between the navel and the knee.
Okay, so you're saying if it was a Muslim woman who is not dressed appropriately, as even nowadays happens, looking at them, even if it's not with shahwa, it will be wrong, or is it only with shahwa?
No, because she's exposing herself. She's the guilty one. She is obliged to go. That's it. When Ali asked that, sometimes you see something suddenly, another al-faj'a. That's usually when you enter, for example, the loo and someone is naked there or something. That's another al-faj'a. Clearly, not what this thing. When Allah said, "Asrif basarak," turn away. That's it. Most likely means the awra al-mughallada.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because they were not covering their faces. We know now in many narrations that the faces were generally not covered. So nobody was turning away from that, whatever. And they were usually in public life, they use khimar and jilbab. But the khimar and jilbab injunction is to them. Only the issue is this: غضوا أبصاركم. This is غض البصر for women and men at the same time. Of course, each one according to its specification. So that's it. So nobody should go to the extreme like the guy who supplicated that he becomes blind, or some early Christian who, with obsession with the women, that they castrated themselves as a devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It happened really, and some of the major church fathers, I think one of them is Jerome of them, he castrated himself as a young man. so extreme is the obsession of some people. And some Sahaba were wondering about that, but they were prohibited from that, strictly prohibited from that. And some people have this inclination to go extreme in devotion, extreme in chastity, extreme in that. It's there. But the Sharia, alhamdulillah, had enough injection to rein them in. But still, despite all the raining, people go out. But then, because the Sharia is clear in that, it's very clear that you can set them right until you are mistaken. That's not a correct way, because we have sufficient evidence and sufficient protected. The same with the Rahbaniyya. But they did it to achieve Allah's pleasure. Okay, but that's maybe an excuse that they will not punish because they invented. It should not have been invented, but at that time, the revelation was not sharp or structured enough, and comprehensive enough. It was still, the revelation was limited, was not clear. And what's the result? فَأَتَيْنَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَجْرَهُمْ وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. We gave them the reward if they are believer. If they are rebellious, they get nothing. That's it. But it's not praising the Rahbaniyya. It's actually giving it a negative connotation. ابتدعوها ما كتبناها عليهم. And then after that, they did not رعوها حق رعايتها. You have obliged yourself to do that, okay, fine, to please Allah, and then they did not comply with it as it should be. So who invented in the first place? You know about the horror story that under many monasteries they found skeletons of babies and so on.
Yeah.
The priests take liberties with the nuns because they put themselves in a corner. Allah did not order you to castrate yourself or to become a nun or to become live celibate. No, it's not. And in their scripture, it's clearly not. So why do you do that? And then you squeeze it in a corner, and then you're forced to cheat and committed heinous crimes like abortion and things like that in the monastery. We don't know how it happens. Love stories between priests and so on, or male monks in the next monastery, or is it rape, or we don't know. And
we know what's happening now. We're hearing more and more stories about children.
Because now we have social media and you have people becoming courageous. And time, people who are ashamed of these things, so they keep it secret and hide it. Allah Alam, we don't know. But the reason is that you invented something which Allah did not order to you and squeezed yourself in a corner. You are the guilty one by that. If you stuck to what Allah has allowed and be reasonable and easygoing, things would be much better. There will be violations, but will be minimal, and especially not in a place where people are devoting them to Allah living in monastery, and suddenly they have babies and they bury them under the monastery. Ayada billah. That's catastrophic. But that's you did it to yourself. That's the reason. Don't make invention deen, especially toward the tightness, toward this becoming extreme and making things tighter, because there's ways to extreme. One is to becoming loose. That's not extremism. That's the leniency and what's called it non-commitment. That's not called extreme. Extreme is going to the other side, and there's a warning from the Prophet. When even in a matter which is surprisingly, I mentioned that several times, when he ordered Ibn Abbas, because he was in the back in his last pilgrimage, or the only Sharia pilgrimage is the last one, Hajjat al-Wada, the welfare pilgrimage. He had behind him exchanging sometimes Ibn Abbas, Abdullah, sometimes his brother Al-Fadl Ibn Abbas, and sometimes Usama ibn Zayd, the three boys he loved more. Okay. So they were exchanging. One take a ride and the other one walks and so on. And say Ibn Abbas was behind him from Arafat to Mina. After sunset, they went there. So they came there near Isha, and they, as usual, they do Jama'ah, Maghrib and Isha. And then he told Ibn Abbas, collect for me some stones when they settle down, or when they wake up for Fajr. I think when they settle down. And the people around him looking what he's doing, taking guidance. And then Ibn Abbas said, I collected for him stones in the size, either for the first stoning, the first 7 1 to stone the major devil in the first day, or for the whole 3 days. We don't know. But collected them stones, small and nice, in the size of hummusa, the size of a chickpea. Most likely, I don't think it's the chickpea, the big one, the normal chickpea we know now. It's the smaller one, the split pea. Some people call it also hummusa. In Arabic, both are called hummusa. Anyway, it could be the standard chickpea, which is still, if a dry one is not big. And then he took it in his hand, and he was very pleased with the size, and was rolling them around, and the people all just standing to see what he says. And he said, "Bimithli hada farm, with this size, with this small size, do the stoning of the devil." Okay, that's fine. And then amazingly, what he comments say, وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَالْغُلُوفِ الدِّينِ. Do not go extreme in devotion, because some people may think it is more devoted instead of having a small stone, or take a big one. Huh? And we see that nowadays. It's very well known. It's a very habit of the Egyptian that they throw up sometimes the shoes against the devil. But that's going to extreme devotion. But even in that, okay, taking a big stone could be quite dangerous, because it could black someone's eye, even kill someone. So we know it may have very nasty repercussions. But the next comment is extremely important. A general rule. إنما أهلك من كان قبلكم الغلو في الدين. What destroyed previous nations is going extreme in devotion. That's what destroyed them. There's other destructive things which mentioned in other hadith, but that's one of the destructive. But use the seclusion. إنما, exclusively what destroyed them. We know it's not exclusively, because there are other hadith mentioning other things. So this is what they call it, a hyperbolic expression, not really exclusion. Formal, strict, logical exclusion. Going extreme in devotion. The other ones are known. One of them is that in the story of the woman who, a Qurayshi woman, which stole and so on, etc. And then there was no way to get away from cutting her hand, and there were people interceding and so on. And ultimately they say the only one who can save the day is Osama ibn Zayd, the beloved of the Prophet. Send him Al-Hibb ibn Habda, the darling, the son of the darling, because Zayd ibn Haritha was close to the Prophet of Allah, even closer than his own sons. And I guess maybe closer than even the cousin Ali ibn Talib and others. Very close to him. The one who was murdered in Mu'tah. Anyway, Osama was also very, 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 very close to Messenger of Allah. So they sent Osama mediating. And Messenger was very angry with Osama, saying, you are making interceding in had min hududillah. Had hududillah, there's no intercession. The moment it's reaching the one who obliged to administer the sultan, خلاص, no intercession whatsoever. Intercession should be done before. The people who took it who swung and asking for their money, they should have forgiven before. The moment they shed, it's over, game over. That's not a place of intercession. And then he said, according to the narration, even if the daughter of Muhammad would die, I will cut her hand. There's no way out of this one. Even if I don't like it or anybody like it, it's absolute. There's no way to work. Then he said, إنما أهلك من كان قبلكم أنه إذا سرق فيهم الضعيف قطعوه وإذا سرق الشريف تركوه. What destroyed exclusively, what destroyed the people before you is that when the noble one commit a theft, they leave it, they find a way to get them away, because that woman was from the nobility. And if the lower class and the weak ones commit a theft, they cut their hand. That's the way of destruction. Misapplication, double standard in applying the law. This is the way to down the abyss. It will ultimately end in society disintegrating and people sharing each other blood. It doesn't work. That's one of the destructive things. And also the other one is going, squeezing the prophets with question and double question and triple question and philosophical question and so on excessively and so on. That's a prohibiting of questioning, especially for those who are around the prophet for their whole life, like the Sahaba. They attend the classes and they have the Quran, they should learn and so on. And only if there is an unsurmountable problem or something new, they will be asking and they must ask permission to ask it. That's all I shout to that. Especially asking about who is in Jahannam, who is these nasty questions and things like that. And they said, إنما أهلك ما كان قبلهم كثرة ترددهم على كثرة سؤالهم وترددهم. كثرة السؤال, not just a سؤال, sometimes they quite unnecessary, but كثرة السؤال. Just going never-ending question and splitting the hair. And if it's in time of prophet, it will be destructive because he has to answer, and the answer will make things tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Like what happened in the story of the cow of Bani Israel. No, I'm going to tell you, okay. Get any bakara. No. Which kind of bakara? It must be a special bakara. It must be this. Possibly maybe to delay the matter, try to sneak away, to try to play a game. We don't know what's their motivation. And somebody because, this must be something grandiose. We have to have a special bakara. No. Said, Allah أمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة. Allah commanded to slaughter a cow. First of all, they said, Attakhadhu huzur. Are you mocking us? We're discussing someone who has been killed and nobody knows the killer. What has to do with the bakara? But he knows what's going on. And he tells you, Allah commanded to adbah bakara. And they will show you what the bakara will do. But they are stubborn people. They are not people who are not willing to respect the messenger, the prophet, and give him the due respect he deserves. And so say, okay, we'll comply, explain how it works. Instead, they indulged in a never-ending quest about what's the bakara, what's its color, what's it, and until only one cow in the world was fulfilling that. And they needed to collect all the wealth they have. The story goes, Allah Alam, the story correct, but the story goes that they paid the one who owns the cow, the young boy who owned that cow, they paid him its weight in gold. Imagine, he became a billionaire or millionaire in the standard of that time, that lucky cow, because of the stupidity of Bani Israel. That's it. Okay, this is the grace of Allah that he came to him, but this is you are not required to channel the grace of Allah in any channel you think or you not think. You're required to comply with Allah's commandments. Let the grace of Allah work its own way. Let Allah manage the universe his own way. You are not ordered to manage the universe. You're ordered to obey. So just obey. That's it. Things will work. It'll work nicely.
Okay, Sheikh, we wanted to discuss a little bit about dawah and stuff. Anyone want to fire away, inshallah?
Okay.
Any thoughts?
So I just you want to stop here or you continue recording?
This part is probably not going to go public. I'm just going to put the previous part. The
cut point, record the time and so on.
Yeah, because even this commentary is probably not required. It doesn't really fit into Tawheed or anything. So from a recap point of view, so from a video recording. We did that video with that Sheikh Nuruddin. I discussed with some of the guys. It didn't look good in terms of the discussion with him.
Okay. Just make a vote about it, and that's it.
No problem, Sean.
Simple. Okay. That's the best way. Publish or not publish? That's the question, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's see what some people evaluate.
Yeah, there was the impression that it's quite aggressive.
We vote. Simple. This is a decision. Publish or not publish? Just vote.
No problem. Okay. Anyone got any ideas? Shoka had a good idea. Shoka's not here at the moment, but he had an idea for a suggestion. Like a lot of questions related to women in Islam type of questions. Let me see. I took a note for this.
I think that we may have a halaqah or may have a once a month or something like a session, especially for sisters and the questions.
Well, no, just a couple of options. One is maybe do a video on common questions from sisters, and then give them the option if they wanted to do their own. In terms of like one of them, I can just give them the Zoom. Okay. They can ask directly.
But we have to do an introduction to that, and for that we have also some pending work which was delayed because of the issue of vision and so on. Scrutinizing a number of hadith which I believe already established that they are fabricated. They are not correct. One of this, nobody will succeed, no nation will succeed who appoint a woman as a leader. That's fabrication, and we know who is essentially. We can pinpoint the fabricators. It's not Abu Bakr. It's one of his sons, and Hassan al-Basri doing ana there is sufficient to give alarm bells, and there's no other narrator something like that, and it contradicts the stand of Abu Bakr because the formulation. No, I will not mention that. We mentioned in the hadith, inshallah. What was the reason for attacking that? And I attacked in various angles. One angle in time past, I thought it's really Abu Bakr said that, and he was confused between Boran and her sister, and the hadith is about the sister, she was a very bad ruler and dangerous woman. But it's even not that is true. Even that's not true, because we have evidence that Abu Bakr did not join the people who came in Jamal, in the Battle of Jamal, not because that hadith claimed that he almost joined, but he remembered what the Messenger said about nobody will succeed, no nation will succeed who appoint a woman, and that prevented him. We have evidence from another better hadith, even isnad-wise. Ahnaf ibn Qais said, I was going there to support Ali ibn Abi Talib against the people of Jamal. And then Abu Bakr met me and said, stop there, don't go, because if two Muslims meet with their sword, both the killer and the killed will go into hellfire. And Ahnaf ibn Qais did not go. He agreed with Abu Bakr and his understanding. Later, Ahnaf ibn Qais, just few weeks or days later, he recognized, Abu Bakr is misunderstanding. That's not a qital fitna, that's a qital with the legitimate imam who has a bay'ah against people who are rebelling and breaking their bay'ah. That's not covered by the hadith. إِذَا تَقَى الْمُسْلِمَانَ بِسَيْفَيْهِمَ فَالْقَاتِلِ. These are fighting for dunya, for desire, for fitna, not the imam, the legitimate imam with bay'ah against people who are rebelling. So he joined in Safi. So we have this evidence. So it is impossible that Abu Bakr would have almost joined the people, but only the fact that Aisha is leading them prevented him from joining. That's a fabrication of one of his sons for reasons which I will mention, inshallah, in due course. And also the hadith about naqsat aql wa deen, deficient in deen and mind, is also but we can prove that it's a mistake. It's lifting statement of Ibn Mas'ud, who has some problem in his background, in his history. He's not an infallible prophet anyway. And that statement, his statement, has been confused to be a statement from the Prophet ﷺ. And the evidence for that is the other narration show clearly that the Prophet did not say that. And similar hadith. So we have to settle these. I may find someone with whom I can go through that file and analyze bit by bit, one by one, and see what we can get there. So we have to get these first sorted out, I think, before we start this project. I want to have that. We have actually an English writing long ago, written in English, so Women in Islam, and gave it to some people in the 90s. I need, I think, to go through that and re-edit it in view of these hadith and the new development, and improve it, bring it to a better level, because we have detected quite a number of interesting things.
I mean, there shouldn't be anything that stops like a general Q&A, I suppose.
But we have to face an introduction about women in Islam, possibly say it in English, or even read that book after editing.
I mean, that book's on the GitHub. I have a copy of it. It's on the...
it's old. I think it has to be edited in various places considerably and improved, because I assume certain narration, certain things, certain understanding to be correct, but we have now irrefutable evidence that some of that is wrong. So we have to update it. And that's the way it should go. It should never stuck to anything classic or taqaleed of madahib and things like that. And then also the issue of wilaya, of nikah and things like that. All of these things. Each one of it is have a dedicated folder and collecting all claims. And I know the claims of previous scholars and hadith scholars and their blunders there. Some of it is so blunders, it's amazing. And still it's sneaked in the madahib because it fits the people's desire or the people's misconception or the people's tribal background, something like that. That's it. So this would be good if we have that before, but still we can answer them and give the just concerning the things which we think we have the proof already, but we did not complete the formal writing. We say we have a writing of that to be completed, but the skeleton is clear now that it's fabricated. This is true. This is not true. And that hadith is partly true, and the other part is added later, and so on. If we get that, I think
if the Shabab want to send any questions related to sisters' issues, feel free. Yeah. I think it's nothing. I mean, ultimately, your book covers certain issues. Yeah, so I mean, just even for example, like we do with the Q&A, because there's obviously cultural things that are coming up in relationships with in-laws. All these kind of things are common things that are.
That's easy. That's done and forgotten.
Yeah, but those are the kind of common things that do affect them. So, guys, I mean, ultimately, all these activities is all for
just start collecting. Say we'll have and we'll study them and we'll give really an up to the highest standard of research and understanding of Quran first, and then Sunnah and Quranic and Sunni, all of it, not a part of an ayah or a quarter of an ayah or a couple of ayahs and neglecting other ayahs, taking all of it into consideration and evidence.
So get the feelers out, guys. Also, if you know anyone, any of the sisters who want to would like to chair it, we can just hand over the Zoom. I'll just give them the details. They can, and obviously it'll probably just be audio anyway, and the sheikhs on video, and then after that edit it and put it online. So open to anyone. I'd ask my own wife, but she's kind of like more classical. So I don't think she wants to even, be on audio. So, yeah, if anyone's interested, what do you call it?
Let's collect the various questions again. Many questions came in the time pass. One of it is that reading the Mus'haf, touching the Mus'haf while in menses and things, all of that. I think we said that already. I said that most madhab are going into an obsessive state of affairs with no evidence whatsoever.